My brujas and brujitos, it's your favorite boy, El Brujo del Bloque, and today I come with an exciting, long-awaited video, La Siren's Thief. There are two versions of this story. The first one I uploaded on Instagram, but unfortunately, due to low storage space, I can never post it on YouTube for now. Well, let me not really say never. I'm usually more animated, but New York City is hot as balls. But I promised on Instagram that I was gonna give you guys the longer version on YouTube. My phone storage will not allow me, so I'm gonna have to shorten this story as well. Without further ado, let's get into it, babes. Wow, La Siren. So this is a story in which Loa and humans coexist. Now in this story, La Siren was known to be second to most wealthy Loa in the pantheon, and she existed in her own kingdom away from humanity and away from even many other Loa. However, a lot of Loa did not get along with her simply because they felt that she was lazy in the sense that she would wait until things were destroyed and start to steal from humans that were shipwrecked, lost at sea, or simply if she saw something, she would simply take it from them. But one day, Papa Legba wanted to play a trick on her. So Legba took 21 days to carefully plot and plan with the Gedes how to get her to stop being so in her own head, luxurious, and just all about her own kingdom. So Papa Gede and Papa Legba went out on a journey to seek someone who was in love with the oceans. Papa Legba came at the coast of Haiti and found a beautiful man. But what was beautiful about him was that Papa Legba found his hardworking ethics to be what really made him shine. So Papa Legba began to eye this sailorman, and he was completely in love with the ocean. But unfortunately, the ocean was not bestowing him with any bounty. He constantly felt that he would die hungry, and so would his family if he was not able to provide and get enough fish. So Papa Legba and Papa Gede would devise eventually a plan to get Ezili-Freda and La Siren to fight over this man. So what they eventually did was, they introduced themselves. But Papa Gede, being one of the most known Gedes to know about herbs, concocted a fragrance that he knew would release pheromones and catch the attention of Ezili-Freda as well as La Siren. While Papa Gede was introducing himself to the sailorman, he threw a powder in his face to knock him out cold sleeping and proceeded with completely covering this man in this powdery form that helped release his pheromones. The sweat of the sailorman began to get washed into the waters, and the waters began to take his pheromones and his sweat into the ocean. Papa Legba was then charged with the duty to get Ezili-Freda to the ocean. After much fuss and discussion, and Ezili-Freda wishing not to dirty her dress or not to dirty herself, period, he finally convinced her. So Ogubaleño with his horse took Ezili-Freda to the ocean where everyone was to meet. Papa Gede completely disappeared before the man could even wake up because he did his due diligence and he simply wanted to see everything from afar. When the man woke up, his fragrance started to blossom even more, and his virility was shining through him. This caught the attention of Ezili-Freda, and she immediately felt that she wanted to speak to this man and get to know who he was. With this, she started to behave very strangely in Ogubaleño's eyes, and Ogubaleño felt that she was acting a little too suspicious, so he offered to take her home and she declined. With this, they began to fuss and fight a little bit and have a dispute about why she refused to go home, but it was really because she wanted to meet this man, but her excuse was that she wanted to see the ocean since she hadn't been there in so long. After a few minutes, La Siren emerges from the oceans slowly but surely as she follows the fragrance of the man. When she reaches the shores of the ocean, she finds the man just waking up and she approaches him. Ezili-Freda, in a fit of rage, feels jealousy because she feels that Ogubaleño is getting in her way, and now she feels that she has to compete with this beautiful mermaid, and she does not like that. So La Siren approaches him and she begins to slowly whisper to him and catches his attention. When this happens, Ezili-Freda begins to perfume herself and even fan herself. And Ogubaleño gets so upset that he gets off his horse and approaches the man. But before approaching him, he salutes La Siren in a very formal and respectful way that Loas oftentimes approach each other. But the man reeks of magic, and the moment he sees the man, he feels the essence of Gide all over him. So Ogubaleño, in anger, decides to take out his machete, and he feels that he has to strike down this man. And immediately, La Siren grabs him and drags him into the ocean to save his life. Ezilifreda dramatically begins to wail and cry because she feels that his reaction was not necessary, and now La Siren had stolen something from her. Papa Legba attempts to calm her down, and to no avail, it just simply was not working. Now, while all of this is going on, La Siren decides to take this man to Vilocan, the island underneath the waters. She's showing him around and showing him the beauties of the ocean and showing him everything there is to see. But one thing catches the sailorman's attention, and it is the conch necklace that La Siren has around her neck. He notices that every time she uses it, it clears the way of fish and also brings fish to her. So while they're in the kingdom underneath the ocean, and as we know, La Siren has the blessing to allow you to breathe underneath the waters, they both fall asleep together, and he is still in love with that conch and he wants it for its power. So while La Siren is sleeping, he takes out one of his box cutter that he normally would use to open up crates as a sailorman, or even to cut up ropes and knots, and steals the conch from La Siren. He swims to the shores and finds that no one is nearby. Immediately, as soon as he gets out, he runs home and he analyzes the conch. He does not even use it. But La Siren wakes up and she's wondering, where is my conch? I remember going to sleep with it, but also, where is my sailorman? She begins to consult the fish in the sea and speaking with them, and they're all telling her that he actually swam back to the shores and he did in fact steal her conch. Now unfortunately, La Siren cannot leave the ocean, so she was extremely upset and begins to wail and cry. Papa Legba hears her cries and he comes to consult her at the shores of the ocean. She begins to speak with him and tell him that she has been cheated and completely betrayed, and she was wondering how this man even got there in the first place and why she never noticed him before. Papa Legba admitted that he actually wanted the sailorman to get La Siren to notice that there's beauty on the earth, and he wanted her to leave the ocean just so that she can visit more, especially because he wanted to speak with her and have a better relationship with her. This upsetted La Siren because she herself does not like humans, simply because she is upset of how much pollution they have contributed to her ocean. And because she felt that Papa Legba disrespected her wishes to her privacy, she was very upset with him. La Siren demanded that Papa Legba bring Beliebelkan to Earth and help come up with a resolution. Papa Legba begins to ring his bell and call Beliebelkan, and Beliebelkan descends from the heavens to the earth in order to consult and just bring a remedy to all of this madness. When Papa Legba, however, called Beliebelkan, Ogubaleño and Metresili, or Ezilifreda, heard the call as well and decided to join in on the conversation because they were having their own issues and they needed to consult Beliebelkan for a remedy. Now, for the purpose of the story being short, he consulted everybody and decided that La Siren should poison the fish with the same poisons and toxins that we pollute the oceans with, and so that because the sailorman stole the fish, whenever he calls the fish to him, may he consume the same toxicity and poison that is within his greedy heart and mind. So thereafter, for 9 months, La Siren turned a blind eye and stopped fighting or even extracting poison out of fish and poison out of the ocean. She completely allowed Beliebelkan to be correct in his judgment and allow for the poisons that we are polluting the earth with to just be consumed into the ocean. For 9 months straight, the man began to collect the fish of the sea, and every single night, like usual, he was celebrating the fact that he finally had harvest and he was able to make so much profit and so much money. He no longer had to struggle baiting the fish, and he no longer had to struggle because every single time he had his conch, the fish would always come to him, and he was able to sell from across the globe. Despite La Siren was turning a blind eye to the poison going into the fish, she ensured that the most toxic ones would go straight to his house. And while it hurt her to see that she had to sacrifice her children, this human had to learn his lesson. Eventually, it started with his child. When it started with his child began to get very ill and sick. From there, several years later, the mother began to develop cancer. Lastly, he developed a brain tumor. He began to clamor into the skies and ask Belie, why has this punishment afflicted my family? Why has this come upon me? And Belial Khan gave him a dream and showed him that when you steal from holy places, in so that you can attain power, that power will corrupt you. And because that power can corrupt you, you will see how it begins to be your downfall and destroy the kingdom you so worked hard to create. From there, he was extremely angry and felt that it was unjust because he was simply trying to survive. And Belial consulted with him and told him that his punishment does not come from a want to survive. It comes from stealing from others in order so that you may survive, especially when you're stealing from others to exploit their power. Use it to your own benefit and never return nor share that power. And above all else, that extremely applies to when you are poisoning a sacred land that belongs to the home of a Loa. So the sailorman begged and said, "What can I do to fix all of this? I am angry, but I am also willing to accept that I have wronged many people and I have wronged so much. What can I do to fix it?" And Belial told him that he must receive a Vudu initiation and help save humanity from the same poisons of greed and the greed of power, and save humanity from the desire to steal even from holy places and the desire to disrespect holy places. The sailorman agreed, and he said that he would do it. Belial Khan prepared everything and he received his initiations. When he did so, Belial Khan renamed him Agwe Dawoyo, who became the sailorman that had a relationship with the ocean. He returned the conch back to the ocean while being on a ship, and along with the conch, he gave only fruits and only sweet things to La Siren. He vouchsafed to never offer her any fish, for he promised to not consume fish as penance for his mistakes. La Siren eventually forgave him and overturned the cancer. As he began to stop eating the poison, he expunged it from his body and his body began to fight back. In exchange, La Siren gave him the herbs to heal his tumor, the herbs to heal his children and his wife. And that is one version of La Siren's thief. This story is a lesson in what happens when you steal from the Loa and what happens when we completely forget the sacredness of water and also the power of what some Loa are capable of. I want you guys to also please understand that I was unable to give you guys the full story, but I don't have enough storage on my phone to give you guys the full story. Stay tuned to my Instagram. It's where I post the majority of the stories. They get saved there. You guys can go look at the shorter version. It's also called La Siren's Thief version 1. Así hala misericordia. I hope you all have a great one.